Hello everyone, ArtEatSan here, and happy 4th of July to all my Americans, and to everyone else, I hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to break down my Schwinn motorized bike build for the Orange County Chopper Stingray. And basically, just a disclaimer, I was under a full health recovery during this time, so it took me about 6 to 8 months to build this, but I had all the time in the world because I wasn't working or anything like that. Alright, let's go on with the build. So, I bought the bike for 75 bucks. Everything was still pretty functional. A little rust here and there, not too bad. This is the inspiration for the bike. It's a 2009 Harley CVO Springer. That's my brother on it. And that's what I inspired to get for a theme for the bike. And here you can see the condition of the bike, how much rust was on it. It was more surface rust than anything, so it wasn't too critical. If you can find something for this pricing, it's great, and you possibly can. You just got to keep your eye out there, look for it if you're trying to go for this exact build. There's also other options out there that you can buy with newer frames, and it doesn't have to be vintage like this. So as you can see there, that is what I first picked up, tire liners, and then I picked up the whole motorized bike kit with a stage 4 from BBR. The tire liners are very important so you don't get any punctures while riding. So for the kit, I gotta say that I personally wouldn't go BBR again for the engine kit itself. I'll show you within the next couple of slides and everything. There is poor control quality, and that's their Dios kit right here that you're seeing, and that one just looks horrible. So I didn't know that it came with like a whole separate cylinder and everything else. So that wasn't listed under BBR when I bought it, and I had no idea what I was getting. I thought it was just going to be like the intake and the car. So here you see the process of how I got it. It's not fully assembled, so you have to assemble it yourself. Toss the sprocket adapter. The billet sprocket adapter is very good. I would totally recommend it. So if you're going for the build, put one of these on and get yourself a billet sprocket, and that'll save you a lot of headaches on messing around with alignment. So that's the good part. It costs a little more, but it's worth it. So here we go. I'm starting the build, and this right here is the motor mount I picked up. Why? Because it was cheap, 20 something bucks I believe. The pricing is in one of the slides. But anyways, there's a lot of modifications I had to do because it's made for a 6mm stud. And I mean, the good thing about the kit is it has upgraded bigger studs on the motor itself. But the only thing is you have to modify your motor mount for it. So this is how the engine came, and I mean it was a little dirty in there. I had to clean it up, and here we go. I started like porting the intake and exhaust ports on the cylinder, and you can see there was a lot of work to do, but I think it came out pretty well. So that's after porting everything out, and it's no longer rough in there anymore, because originally it was pretty rough. It wasn't like smooth like that. And so the sides, I like the sides, but I wanted to give it kind of that metal edge look, so I kind of shaped it a bit. This is the seat post that I went for and I grabbed for the bike, because the original seat, I was gonna rock it, but it gave out, it cracked, and it wasn't working no more. So I took it off, and I bought this style of seat to put on there. I tried this gas tank out, but it was just way too big and clunky. It got in the way of everything. It's not what I wanted for looks, so I ended up returning this. Thank Amazon for all their easy returns. That's very helpful for the build. And then I picked up these little bicycle headlights. So that was the first thing that I tossed on there, and it made it look better. But eventually I upgraded from there because it was a little bit small to me per se. Get yourself one of these bit sets for your Dremel rotary tool. it makes life so much easier than trying to use a drill. Because I was using a drill at first to do all this work, and if I had this, it would have made my life so much easier. From doing the motor mounts to porting the heads, everything. Anything that you got to start grinding away at metal, steel, make sure you use that kit. It's great. And make sure you get yourself a Dremel if you don't have one. It'll make your life easier. So here we go. We started mocking up the motor to the bike itself. Then you do got to shave off that or cut off that much of the fender for your chain to be able to clear, or else you're going to be hitting that fender with the chain, and you don't want that. So here we go. I stripped off all the decals and everything. This is the original light that I was trying to put on the fender. It was too big, didn't work. So I started using vinyl wrap to do a color change on it. And here's the vinyl wrap. I tucked all the wrinkles in the back. I did that so it would stay on there. And the first thing I tried was using wrap wire, cutting wire, to cut the flame design out on the fender. That didn't work out quite well. You can see the way it cut, it just didn't cut good because the type of vinyl I was using that kind of like brush metal vinyl, and those don't do good with all these vinyl wire cutting. So I ended up having to trace my own little flame design out on the back of it, the vinyl, and then I cut it out and put it on. It's a little bit shorter than I wanted, but it still looked pretty okay, so I was happy with that. I bought these pair of side marker turn signal lights that I was trying to make work, but afterward I found out that it wasn't perfect on the lighting. I'll show you in a picture coming up soon, but the lighting was off. Like one side was brighter than the other side, it didn't match, so I returned that and I went for another option. So there's the vinyl wrap on the front done, and these are the little disc brake adapters that I use to get the front disc brake mounted. So I use two of these, one the front and one the back of that hub where I drilled, and I had to add some extra hardware because everything's custom. This is the hydraulic disc brake kit that I use, and there it is mounted on the adapters, and then mounted back up to the actual steering. Wow, slipped my mind. But anyways, that's the steering. That's the adapter that's supposed to be for the rear, but I modified it for using in the front of the actual bike boards. There's the word bike boards. So I do have to kind of grind a little bit at that bike board. Here's just a clip of showing the wheel spinning and everything's working for the front disc brake. There was a lot of modding to do. Here's that picture that I was telling you about. This is a suicide lever style that I added for the rear disc, well not disc brake, but the rear brakes, because they didn't have enough to fight. I did use a 420 chain, so it's a little bit thicker, a little heavier duty, because the original chain that comes with the kits are way too short to actually work for the Schwinn OCC choppers. So that's why I did that. And just a little bit more modifications right there, having to extend that seat clamp post stud out real well to make that handle work, and I had to thread that stud, that big old stud, just to make that happen. A little bit more on that later. So I ended up picking up this more bigger version of a LED headlight, and it made the bike look way better. It just looked, it was bigger, beefier, and way better. This set right here is not exactly the same set anymore, because I did buy these side turn signal markers years ago, about 2 years ago, and they don't currently carry them anymore. But there are other styles that you can choose from on Amazon and make things work. So right there, what happened was, while I was trying to grind away cut some of that stud off so it wouldn't rub into the tire, I accidentally cut through the wire. So I had to do a repair there, and you can see that I did my proper repair. Here's testing all the circuits, making sure it blinks. I had to throw a diode or two in there. I don't quite remember where right now, but that's what I had to do with the two relays just to make the turn signal. So that's our bench testing first. Back to that disc brake. The hydraulic disc brake is very good. Honestly, like that front hydraulic disc brake is so good that I only use that for my braking. I don't even need to use the suicide lever for the rear brakes. And there's the turn signals all mounted on the rear fender, rear brake, just in between. Gotta have your little brake. And here's running the wiring for the bike. So I had to run wires for that headlight towards the back and a few other things like the switch. Here we go. First test of lights actually on the car. I mean, on the bike, my bad. And there it is, lighting up the night. Wires all over the place. It was a lot of wiring. But here is the wiring for the turn signal lights on the bottom. And that's how it looks with the fender right there. Here's more testing using a voltage step down because it's a 24 volt battery I put on there, but these are all like 12 volt systems. So I currently adjusted all the voltage to about 13-ish, 14, because that's okay tolerance. That's the tail light that I used for the project. I originally had a really better one, this one right here, but that magnet system didn't work and I lost it. So I ordered those replacements. I said, hey, multiple lights, even better. But the only drawback is they don't last that long. So maybe like less than 30 minutes. And that's how I taped it up so that the wire doesn't get rubbed underneath that fender. So here are the electrical components that I used for that wiring and all the wiring and lighting. And that's what I used to get the battery mounted on and working. So all this will be linked in the description. I'll have links for everything in the same order that they're shown here. So that's more testing. Because with the voltage way too high, you're going to burn things out and all your electronics are going to get messed up. So there's my testing. All the lights are currently working. I do have brackets out that are for the front forks for the turn signals. I'll show that later. I forgot to put it in right here in this moment. But that's the reason right here why I went with a 3-liter tank, because I was able to fit this cover over there. It came off of a 1987 Yamaha XV535 and I bought it off of eBay. So that's my take on it. You can throw a 4-liter if you want, but I wanted to make it look, and I say 3 liters plenty enough. I used it for a long trip and I was still okay. So here we go. Things are coming along now. Bike's looking good. Fender back on. I had to add a spacer on the exhaust right here so I can clear my cranks. That too I'll add in one of the slides a little later. So this is when I had to go move the bike temporarily, and I had to strap it up and take it away to my brother's. And this right here is the actual linkage inside the carburetor. I don't know how to weld, so I couldn't do any welding, but I added that in there using a crimp. So like a electrical connector crimp. I cut that in half and crimped it to the point where it stayed in there very nice and solid, but it was just the right shape. this right here. Pick this up if you need any rust removal with your Dremel. It works wonders. It will slightly make the surface look a little scuffed, but like a mirror scuffed. So it's really well. And here, we added the tank. This is the GPS speedometer that I use. It's used by USB. Currently, this is the only one that's available, so I'll leave a link in the description for that. But this works pretty well, very accurate. So I'm really happy with this. I ended up putting that inside the original little bicycle headlight housing, and that's how I got it mounted up, and I'm just amazed it fit perfectly. With minor modification. Everything you do on one of these crazy projects like this has a lot of modification and custom work, tuning to everything. There are the brackets for the front forks for the turn signals. These are mandatory. You have to buy these chain tensioners, or else the bike motor will pull your axle, and your axle will go sideways, it'll be misaligned, and it's all bad. So make sure you get those. And just more bling bling, actually the lever. So for the clutch lever, I changed that because the original lever had sort of a bind to it, like the spring wasn't as strong and it wouldn't retract all the way after I released. So that's why I got that lever, and might as well go with that, you know, billet blue stuff. Why not? It's the theme of the bike anyways, more bling bling. I'll take it. And it works much better. There's just one issue, is they don't have a stop for the clutch like the original does. So that's the only downfall. I might try to make something for that. We'll see. Because it'd be a nice fix. It's a comfort feature. So the fender I had to buy, and then I kind of cut it to the size I wanted. Vinyl wrapped it too. And then all this other stuff right here is just paint from, like, I bought it from Walmart. I picked it up and I painted the bike. Here's one of the first clips when I was still running the original chain tensioner. I had a lot of issues with chain tensioners. Now this cat's pretty cool. It likes my bike. It's funny, because normally he don't care anything about me, but whenever I have my bike, he ends up going over there and checking it out. So this is what happened after that ride home that day, a few mile ride. The chain tensioner went out on me, and the chain got stuck in the sprocket and everything. It was a little bit of a hassle. Good thing I had tools on me, a few tools. It still was a little tough, but got back home. Not throttling it too crazy, because that torque does move everything, and it took out the chain tensioner. So this is the chain tensioner that I eventually settled on after trying a few. I tried that nice blue one too, didn't work. So this is kind of like a brace style right here. It's the best one. I recommend this one over any. It won't fail you. It hasn't failed me in my big ride, and I think it's the most solid one. See that old chain tensioner? No good. Those things, they'll loosen up, they'll move. It'll fail. So this is how I have it mounted on the bike right now. I might make some adjustments to that later though. And this was the bike pretty much done, good running. And I was just gonna work on that tank cover. That's the last piece. I wanted it painted instead of vinyl wrap, because vinyl wrap would have been crazy. Cute cat's fun. Always comes to check out the bike. Yeah, it's funny cat. I don't know what it is, but every time the bike's around, it'll come by. So here's the little sanding attachment I attached to my drill for the work, and these are the spray paints that I use for the tank cover, and this is the process which I did. So I removed as much paint as I possibly could, which was down to bare metal, and then from there, you see a tank right there, all my other stuff for the build, and it was quite the mess. So there we go, start drawing out the design of how I wanted it and things, how I wanted to lay the flames. See, nothing's perfect, it's going to be here and there, and then I started going at it with the sander so that I can get this kind of sand brushed look to it. That's what I'm going for, because that's how it looks on my brother's 2009 Harley CVO Springer. That's a limited edition model, and that's why it was so cool. It was my favorite, personally, my favorite bike. And that's why I themed this bike after that. It's in remembrance of it, because he doesn't have it anymore, but that's a limited edition bike, so I'm not going to see that thing around. And here I start to tape off all the areas so we can start doing the painting. So I started with the anodized blue, so it's a see-through kind of like clear blue. The more layers you lay on, the darker the blue gets. So there we go. I started light layer, and then more layers, a little more blue. There you go, you see it, it's darker blue, and that's how we want it. Looking at nice, dark, transparent blue. So right here, I'm peeling back a little bit of those flame tapes, because I have to blend in those flames. There's a design on that bike that you blend in, the tips are blended in a lighter blue. So I peeled it back like this, and then for this process, I have to tape again over it, so that's a lot of taping. And then from this tape, basically, I would have to section it out using a divider while I spray to keep the rest of the tank from getting hit. So this is the whole process right here. This is how I made that tape divider from paper. If I ever to do this again, I would get like professional paint paper, because that paper I used at the bottom end right there, it kind of absorbed the clear and it made a reaction on that bottom side. We'll get to that soon. I have a picture of that. But you can see here how I'm sectioning it out and just like hitting with the spray paint lightly until I feel like I got that perfect enough blend, and then I go back and I remove all that tape. So I did have a mess up here, and I had to remove all that with like Q-tips and respray, but it worked out okay. So you see that dark spot in the bottom of the paper right there in the corner? This is what happened. So it ended up with like a reaction spot. It looks a little like wrinkled, dull, because of that reaction that went through. And luckily it's not the final coat, so I was able to fix it up. And basically all you have to do with that right there was a little bit of wet sanding. So you see that reaction right there? I just wet sanded it until it was perfectly even again. Luckily it didn't lighten up or anything too much, so that was good. Tested it with water, looks good, looks nice and deep and dark still, it's okay. And after that, then I just went over, I scuffed the whole tank and made sure that it's all nice and scuffed with 1000 for the clear that's going to go up over the top of the tank. And right here, you can see it's all scuffed with 1000, and we have that brushed metal look right there on that flame, on the areas that are not blended with blue. That's the unique thing about this tank design that I really liked. There's the wet sand paper that I use, and this is the pinstriping brush I bought. So this time I actually went pinstriping. The original other vinyl wrap, I did not pinstripe. I actually used like a syringe, and I just outlined it with that. This one I got at it, and I went pinstriping. Yeah, that's a COVID tester kit that I had laying around. It wasn't getting used, so I used it as an easel. You have to do your test run somehow, right? Alright, so with this process, I learned how to pinstripe it, and it was pretty cool. There it is, all finished, clear coated, And these are the other parts I had to buy off of Bike Beer. That I would just say the exhaust port, oil's cheap. This tool's great, pick it up for keeping around on your rides. Also, there's .67 jet is easier to find on Bike Bear if it's available. It wasn't for me at that time, so I had to get it for 10 bucks somewhere else. This is the final ride of mine from the build. Even though my health was going bad, I had to make a ride because I told my dad, well, my dad passed away already since I was a kid, but I made a promise if I ever get a bike, my first ride, big ride, is going to be to go visit him. This is my nephew right here taking my mom in my place because I can't bring my mom on that little motorized bike. So there she is, comes to join me, and there I am with a helmet that's paint matched to my brother's motorcycle. He actually gave that to me because he knows that I really like that bike, and he passed that on to me. So that's always going to be a memory of mine. And there you go. My nephew helped me bring all the rest of my tools and stuff, and also this helmet too. It was hard riding around. I needed to ride around with like open face helmet because of my health issues, and I'm thankful for my nephew to be able to make it there with me that day on a little trip and bring my mom and all my stuff with him. It helped me a lot, and also like a little bit of change of clothes for me because it got hot after that, and I needed to get home and stay cool as much as possible because I have an overheating issue. I am very bad with the heat now. I cannot tolerate the heat anymore, so that's that. Alright, so after this trip and I came home, now basically I know that with my health issues, I can't possibly keep riding the bike because it takes me a lot of energy to pedal up the bike. Since the bike is a little heavy, it's probably like 80-ish something, 80, 90 pounds, like with gas and stuff. And with my health, since my body kind of like broke down, it doesn't fare well with that strenuous activity. So I'm planning to actually replace just worn components on the bike, make sure everything's good. So that's why we have these tires here that I purchased brand new. Sprocket, because that original one's going out, I feel it. And I'm trying to put this 28 tooth on there, so that should up the speed a little bit. Here's the final price of $1,986 that I spent on this project. And basically, the most important thing is getting that billet motor mount for these bikes, if you're working on these bikes, because that cheap mount that I bought, it's workable, but it moves and everything. It ends up being a big hassle. So I finally jumped the gun, got a slight sale on it from BBR, and I picked up that. So from here, all I'm going to do is what I've already done, but I haven't posted yet, is I've changed the tires on the wheels, and I've trued the wheels, moved the axles a little bit so that they're balanced, because that addition of the hydraulic disc mount and adapters to the wheel actually took up so much space that the axle nut on that side was only hanging on by like 5 threads. I mean, personally for me, it was okay, but I want to make things right, everything nice and right for the next owner, so they'll be set and solid. They won't have to worry about anything. So that's going to be my current project afterward. Unfortunately, I had to let it go. I was wanting to use this as a daily, that's why I built it the way it is, but due to health conditions, it is what it is, and it'll be up for sale soon afterwards. Okay, for recommendations, if you got money, even if you don't, make sure you check out Pedal Chopper, because they are the specialists on the OCC chopper build for motorized, and they have a solution for everything. Custom, all sort of awesome solutions and things they came up with, so check them out. And for a motor, this is what I would go with, Phantom 85 V3 for power, but it's not too customizable because it's built the way it is, and that's it. For customizable, Zeta 100 with the Deals kit, you can add on things like exhaust and other little modifications here and there to your liking for customization. If you're taller than me, I'm 5'6", and you have longer legs than me, then you'll probably need these seat posts, which needs to get shimmed. just to make it fit the seat post clamp, but that's your option. And finally, for other frame options, if you still want to go that route with the chopper style or this other, they call it faker style, they're real nice right here. Cost a pretty penny, but they have brakes reinstalled. Thanks again for watching my how it was built speed up summary in 30 minutes video of the motorized bike, and all the links will be in the description. Thank you again, and have a nice day.